Hello and welcome back to HCS Weekly.
I thought, yo, this is my life. I have to go pro in Halo.
In my head, thought that was more efficient, and I guess I was right.
He was like the god. We would have to 2v1 like just to beat this guy. Like
I don't know, man. I was trying to reach in. You're like, oh, let's see you guys later.
A lot of Halo in my life, man. It's been a fun journey.
I love it. Hello, welcome back to HCS Weekly, your weekly destination for all things HCS. I'm your host, ShyWay. Guys, we are finally back with our first episode of the new year, 2020, a brand new decade, and what might be a huge decade for Halo if everything goes right. Of course, we've seen Halo finally make its way onto PC. It's good, but it's not perfect. It looks like there's certain kinks that need to be worked out, and hopefully it gets there. Hopefully when Halo Infinite drops, Halo finally comes back to those glory days, to that success that we want it to have. Will it get there? Let's find out. We got a lot to cover today. I've got an incredibly exciting guest joining me. We're kicking off the year with a bang. So honored to have this man join us on the stream, the FPS legend. Welcome, Summit1G, to HCS Weekly.
Oh, good. Hey, how's it going? It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I don't know about legend.
Man, you've been doing it forever. And I went back and I watched, I had to do all this research and I saw the Score Esports video where they go through everything.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like your beginning and how you got here. And I got to call you an FPS legend. Like maybe you're not competing on the top level of all the games, but you're playing them all and you're making them exciting and you're growing this group of just diehard fans. You've got so many incredible fans. So
we do a little
man,
different,
to
that's
have
for sure. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, that Score video was sick too. I actually really like that. I like a lot of their videos.
Really sick video.
Yeah.
So I've been watching some of your stream recently. You've been bouncing around. You've been playing some Rainbow Six, some COD, and then some Escape from Tarkov recently. How's the stream grind going?
It's going good. I'm trying to just find my slot. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I'm outside of the real streaming realm, and I'm trying to find like my video game slot to find in. You know what I mean? So we're working on it, trying different things. Halo was one of them for a little bit.
Yeah, I know we're gonna have to. That's of course we're gonna cover that. On Tarkov, I've been watching you play. You had some great moments. You have some hilarious moments as well. Just recently, you hit this clip with a nade, and Shroud reacted to it. We got to check this out. Let's play it up.
All
Yeah.
right, I'm watching 1 second. What in the world was that? Oh my god! What kind of arc do you think you have?
What?
You threw it straight up in the sky, like perfectly.
It would have made it. There was just like a part of the ceiling that pushed it back.
Okay, is there some secret 200 IQ play here that we don't know about? What's going on with that nade? Where was the objective? Where was it supposed to land?
Dude, the grenades in the game are so weird, and the arc. Okay, the arc in every shooting game imaginable is different. You know, it's like your guy will throw across a football field in Halo 1, but you come to Halo 2 and he chucks like he's underhanding. You know what I mean? So it's like every freaking game is different. I don't have a crosshair in that game. The arc is hard to manage. Hey, honestly, even throwing a freaking grenade into a doorway is difficult for me in that game. I don't know. It's tough.
Man, I feel you. I mean, sometimes it happens. It's just, I guess for you, it happens in front of 20 to 30,000 people. So
Yeah,
they got to see all the L's in stride.
Exactly.
But I believe you were going for something cool there. It was, if it worked, you said it would almost hit. What was it?
It was gonna bank shot off the top and definitely made that guy.
Yeah.
100. I wasn't supposed to be down there in the first place. It was an accidental fall, so it was just I tried to roll with it, you know.
There was a bank nade you hit in Halo Reach right when you got on BTB. You banked it off the wall and then it came back onto your face. I don't know if you remember that one. That was another creative bank nade right there.
Yeah, that's when I learned that nades can go through little bits of walls sometimes.
Right, the explosion damage.
Yeah.
So it is, of course, a Halo discussion. We got a lot of Halo to cover. I know you've been playing a bunch of Halo. Unfortunately, you're not really playing it too much anymore. But I think you're a fan in the end of the day. I want to know how it kind of started for you. When I watched your Score Esports video, you experienced Counter-Strike for the first time in a card shop. Do you have any kind of origin story for Halo? How you first got into it?
Yeah, actually. It was sophomore year of high school.
Okay.
Spanish class. I was very, I guess, open about my Counter-Strike just obsession.
Right.
I would sit in class and come up with strats, or I would write up a map, or I would draw one out, and just I would just do everything Counter-Strike related. And there's this dude who would literally sat across the way from me, and he would stare at me so often that it was be extremely uncomfortable. And very quiet guy. And one day we had to pair up for Spanish class testing. And
I'm wondering why he was staring at you. Is it because of Counter-Strike? We're gonna get to that.
Yeah. We'll get to it a little bit.
We'll get to it. Okay.
Yeah. And
Romance.
I got paired up with this guy. Luckily, he was very good at Spanish. He blew through our tests for us. You know what I mean? I didn't know shit. It was really nice. And his name was Nick. And we ended up being really, really good friends after that, because he had told me that, like, he noticed that I was really into Counter-Strike and I had taken it competitively, yada, yada, yada. And he had started telling me about how into Halo he was. And I, at the time, had not even known really that Halo had a competitive scene, because this was before Xbox Live existed. This was when Xbox Connect was a thing. I don't know if you remember Xbox Connect.
This must have been like 2002 or 3 or something, like way back, right?
Way back. I'm talking, we were playing Halo 1. I remember, we became friends, right? We were always hanging out. And I'd be doing my Counter-Strike thing, but I'd always have like the Halo thing with him on the side. I'd go to his house on the weekends and we fucking jam out to some competitive Halo as much as I could. You know what I mean? I got to a point where I got decent. And I remember playing Xbox Connect. We were too stubborn to play on our own host because it was too easy. Because back then, when you would play on Xbox Connect, like hosting, when people complain about hosting today, it's nothing compared to what it was. You know what I mean? I'm talking like in Halo 1, you'd be like, pat, 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 3-shot, be over, done. And when you were on their host, you'd have to lead like a full inch in front of them to be able to hit shots on them. It was crazy, but it was so much fun to be able to win games against people when it was on their host and stuff. So we were very stubborn. We'd always play on other hosts. So yeah, that was kind of how I got into Halo. And we just kind of took it from there. Halo 2 came out. We got into it. Halo 3 came out. We got into it. We'd watch competitive. You know what I mean? It was good times. So Spanish class,
Awesome. I mean, that's Spanish class, the one where you probably want to, skip on all your school and you get to finally, talk about focus on video games.
It's one of those.
That's so sick though, man. 2v2 Halo CE is kind of where it's at. That's a great place to start.
Exactly.
There's actually
I had heard about the ogres from him long before I'd figured out about them on the internet or anything. He told me about, he would go to local LANs or he would go to LAN tournaments, and they were the big dogs that would show up and destroy people. And it was crazy to find that out. You know what I mean?
Did you go to LANs yourself?
Not for Halo 1. I did go to some Halo 2 ones and some Halo 3 ones, just some local stuff. Just because, like I said, I wasn't super into it. Counter-Strike was my main gig and Halo is my side thing. And he was just like, he needed a partner and I was the guy,
Yeah, for sure. Do you have what's that?
PC Halo with, actually. He was the guy that got me into PC Halo too.
Okay. So for the first for Halo 1 and Halo 2, they finally switched it over to PC, right?
Yeah, and then Halo 2 came out and it was only for Windows Vista.
Yeah, the Vista edition. I didn't mess around with any of that stuff, but there was a scene for that. There was a community for that. And then it just completely it was just dead. And finally we have Reach. It's been all this space in between.
When Halos continuously come out and, PC's left in the dust for so long, it's like, all Halos are going to die off with it, right? Nobody's going to play Halo 1 anymore, or 2 anymore, really,
Yeah.
So,
which honestly might be one of the biggest contributing factors, I think, kind of leading to where it is now, is just that fact that it disappeared.
I think Halo Infinite is going to be, in my opinion, Halo's biggest push that it'll ever have in current days. You know what I'm saying? It's be the Halo, in my opinion.
I think so too, and I'm excited to talk about that. Before we get there, do you have a favorite Halo? Just to kind of gauge where you're at. If you're an advanced classic lover, there's different camps now. Halo's gone through so many changes.
Agreed. I honestly, I'm on board with Halo 3. I like the maps more. I like that there's a little bit of a lead that you have to put on your shots. It's not all just
projectile aim.
Yeah, and it's and I also liked the competitive scene. That's when Halo started popping hard. Was Halo 3? It was Halo 2 was this set teams were okay, it was these teams that were good, right? It was T-Squared's team, whoever he was on, right? It was straight back then.
You had your final boss.
EG back then as well, before they became final boss, right? I don't know if you remember when they were EG, and it was always the same guys. Yeah. But when was it not EG? I don't know. Sorry, I'm not sure what team. I know Walshy. It was literally on the TV show back then. That everybody knows.
It was on TV. Yeah.
What was that called again, dude? True
I,
Life.
I I wish I knew the name of the show, but this was huge at the time. This took over America. This was like what everybody was playing in the U.S. You had a T-squared all over Dr. Pepper bottles, right? They were on the. It was just the beginning of a revolution.
He had so many just new teams popping up and new like talents, and that caused so many team changes that you would never think possible. Like you never thought
Yeah.
Final Boss would ever break up and Team Instinct would form. And oh man, I used to love watching Halo 3 competitive.
So sick. I don't know if you remember Chris Puckett would he'd do like a kind of up to speed type video where he'd take all the teams and he'd be like, okay, these are all your teams. Here's who's here, and this guy got kicked off. He moved over to this team, and he would like,
Dude, I
he'd
don't
like
remember
map
that
it
at
all
all.
out. Okay, he had
Man,
that. I
that's
saw this
so
video
cool.
on YouTube where he would map it all out and he'd get you up to speed, and you're like, okay, this is where it's at, and here's the event type thing. Just a big shout out to Chris Puckett once again. He's one of the guys we got to get back if we want to, able to make that comeback.
He was fantastic.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was really, really good. I forgot what I was gonna say before that. We're good.
No, but I mean, I feel you on Halo 3, man. I think that was the pinnacle of Halo. I think as far as, the game itself, it's a huge package. There was nothing that could compare when you take your Forge and the multiplayer, all the modes within multiplayer, the campaign, and the campaign's 4-player co-op, and it's massive game.
It was a fantastic game. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So
I was kind of sad when they did H2A instead of H3A. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to see a Halo 3 anniversary, not a Halo 2 anniversary. And that's another thing about the new Halos coming out. So I say like Halo Infinite's coming out, and that's going to be the Halo. But I think another one, which if they redid, could put it on the map a little bit, which is H2A, just because graphics alone. You know what I mean?
Yep. I'm gonna cover that one too. Let's get into it a little bit, because what I wanted to do was start by establishing to everyone that you are a Halo fan, and that's what I knew from the get-go is, guys, Summit loves Halo. So whoever's going and you're bashing him on Twitter and stuff, like, okay, let's to start it off, Summit actually likes Halo, but something happened. You uninstalled the game. You said it sucks huge. Male appendage. You said some stuff. My producer says I can't say swear.
It's
You
okay.
can say whatever you want, but I'm
Okay, cool.
What happened?
Yeah.
What happened when you uninstalled it?
Honestly, people think that I just couldn't handle like the competitiveness of it, and it was just too hard for me. And it's just like I get my ass kicked in games all the time. You know what I mean? As being a variety streamer on Twitch, it's like I don't just get to sit on a single game and spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours on it, right? Like a lot of people. So I'm used to getting my ass kicked when I come to new games. And it's like, but this was just different. It felt like it just felt like they were unwinnable battles. I couldn't put it any other way. It wasn't about me getting shot from certain angles. It wasn't about me not knowing angles. It wasn't about like Halo as the overall game in itself. It was about just the strictly, you guys, you are on one side of the room, and there's another guy on the other side of the room, and there's no obstacles, there's no flags, there's no anything. It's just two guys with battle rifles fighting, and I think that I just can't win against a controller consistent enough for me to really take it seriously to play it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If that makes sense.
Right. So remove all other elements of the game. Of course, those things are important. Your macro, positioning, strategy, whatever. Just the DMR 1v1, straight up, close range, mid range, mano a mano. It doesn't feel fair. And you're saying because of aim assist on controllers, right?
Yeah, I didn't think it felt fair. I know other PC players that didn't think it felt fair. I know some controller players that also think it's not fair. And I'm 100% okay with it not being fair. I just don't want to compete or try to play at a level where it's just going to be annoying. You know what I mean? Like when I solo queue, I'm solo queuing at like level 40. So I play against pros a fuck ton. And they 5-shot the fuck ton out of you. You know what I mean? The F ton.
Right.
Sorry, I know you said I can.
You're good. Go for it, dude. And no, I mean, I see you 5 pros as well. Like, you get your moments, but ultimately, this argument, it's not like you're just kind of pulling it out of thin air. You're not the only one who's saying this. So, first of all, aim assist. 99% of the community who follows this knows what aim assist is at this point, but we'll show a quick video up beside us here. You can see us with the video here. This is Hysteria just kind of waving the reticle back and forth, and you can see the reticle is being pulled by the game, a feature in the game called aim assist. It's going to help you hit your shot. So in Halo Reach, I don't know what it is, but pro players are agreeing with you on this. It feels like the aim assist in Halo Reach is stronger than it is in past Halo titles. And there's quotes of this on Twitter that we can take a look at as well. You've got Jimbo, who's a pro Halo player, who agreed with you. We can throw up Jimbo's quote. He says, "You're not wrong. He's diving straight into the deep end, playing against insanely skilled players. But with the way aim assist is, he has zero chance of catching that skill. It's not really an even playing field. So why continue playing on a handicap like that?" Not just Jimbo, but Hunter JJX has a similar tweet. The fact that you uninstalled while we were on a win streak says enough, my man. Even from a controller versus controller perspective, something needs to be done about aim assist. Perfect aim should be something that is sought after but never truly achieved. Everyone is a robot at the moment.
Listen, I can't really speak from like controller to controller. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I don't know if they have problems with it necessarily competing with each other. But I know that like some notable mouse and keyboard players like Giggs. Giggs is a very high-end, very high-level mouse and keyboard player, and even he will agree to at least an extent that there is a little bit of an advantage. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It really seems like, I mean, the pros are saying that as well. It does feel stronger. I don't know if it's because of the way the game was designed. I know Ola had a comment on this. We can show Ola's tweet about this as well. Ola says that goes back to my aim assist comment. Reach was made with the idea that aim assist is for 30 frames. That's why it feels crazy on max frames. Halo Infinite will be made with max frames of PC at its core foundation, so we shall see.
Yeah.
So just kind of the fact that it's a game that was designed for 30 FPS, but now we're playing it on 144, 240, and it's just all of a sudden it feels a lot more powerful.
We have seen games like that, right? Like GTA is like the same way. It's like you race your car in GTA and your car goes faster if you have bigger frames. It's just so weird how shit works like that. But that's another reason why I was thinking like Halo Infinite is going to be the game, because it's like I don't expect them to change a 10-year-old game. I don't expect them to balance that. I'm not sitting here complaining every single day about Halo Reach and how I can't play it. It's fine. I can play it. I can have a great time playing that game, and I think I can enjoy myself. I'm just a competitive player in nature, so when you lock out that part, according to me at least, it's like it takes so much value away from the game. But it's it can be that, and Halo Reach being from the ground up, knowing that it's controller and mouse and keyboard together, that I just feel like there's a potential for more balance there. You know what I mean?
Definitely. So, well, I see and agree with your side and your point here, and a lot of pros agree with that aim assist issue. I do think, of course, you got to be sympathetic to all sides here. So I know that there are valid points from the community as well. We're not denying that stuff, right? So DMRs, they're one small aspect of competitive Halo overall.
Absolutely.
You've got other elements like strategy, map positioning, map control, teamwork, power weapon control. These are all very important indicators of performance. You think of a player like Lunchbox, who he's not as flashy. He's always kind of in the background, helping the team make the plays they need to. He's doing the dirty work, right?
Absolutely.
All of that is still very important. And yes, Summit, you recognize that.
Like I watch Lethal play, I watch Snakebite play. They'll fucking
there you go. They're amazing
on mouse and keyboard. Yeah, because their brain is just so huge, you know.
Exactly. Here's big brain plays from Lethal where he's just threading the needle. And yes, with the sniper, you're pretty nasty mouse and keyboard with the sniper. But even with the DMR, this guy is nuts.
Oh my God, he's gross. Yo, tell me you saw this guy's clip. Tell me you saw Lethal's clip that he posted. I think it was yesterday.
Oh no,
and
I don't know.
He doesn't show emotion when he plays, right? He'll hit insane stuff and his face will be the same, right? But he hits this shot yesterday and he says, "Oh my God, what the fuck?" or something like that. Okay, so exactly where he was shooting a guy under, so he's their rock shooting a guy under their turret with sniper. Okay. Misses a couple no scopes, then steps over, and you know those like little, like there's like a pillar and there's like a little like hole under the pillar. He just steps over and shoots at the hole and ricochets a bullet and headshots this guy. And I'm just like, what's
a bank shot? Oh my God.
Yeah. Bank shots it off the floor into a guy under turret from freaking their rock. It's unreal.
You know what I could do is, I know my producer's listening. If he goes to Lethal's Twitter page and somehow pulls it, brings it up later, maybe we'll watch it later and see. But that sounds like something Lethal will be able to pull off. And you're right, he doesn't react. His reaction, even to that last clip that was right on the screen, he almost hits like a nair. And then his reaction is actually no when he loses the.
I choked it. I choked it. I shot 8 kills. I choked the 9th kill. You know.
Yeah, he's upset. That's what happens, man. You start to expect perfection.
Yeah, true. I mean, from that guy, it's expected, though. You know.
Of course, yeah. So that's the thing is to recognize that there are other aspects of Halo, other players who, Halo pros like Lethal can pick up mouse and keyboard. They're still deadly. They're still making things happen. On top of that, you can never disregard the skill it takes to be a master at controller. Like, yes, aim assist this game is a little bit stronger, but I think some people kind of it bothers them because there are people who put years and years and years into mastering the controller, and it takes.
But that's the thing. I agree with that, and I do agree that it takes an incredible amount of skill.
Mhm.
And you know what's funny about that is I just think that the way aim assist like was built was like Stone Age compared to what was expected out of players in Halo and what players have actually achieved in Halo. You
Right.
get what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like the
Okay.
skill levels have exceeded expectations so much, but they're still on the same style of like of aim assist, right? Like it hasn't evolved with the skill level of players, in my opinion.
Right.
Just a little bit, you know what I mean?
Okay, no, that's a fair point. One thing I was actually thinking that makes Halo different than your other games like Apex and PUBG or whatever is the fact that the way Halo works, there's no incentive to hit headshots. And Shroud mentioned this when Shroud had played it for the first time. He's like, "Man, I'm shooting them in the head, but I'm not getting any benefit. It's just doing the same shield damage." And he's right.
Okay.
If you shoot him in the toe or you shoot him in the head, you get the same shield damage. So maybe that kind of benefits your classic aim assist style control because you can just whip for body until you
Absolutely.
break the shields, and then the headshot matters. Which makes me think, what do you think of like headshot damage modifiers on shield percent? It makes things more confusing, maybe, because that's Halo's kind of simple by nature and how it
I
works.
don't know.
But
I very much so like the Halo the Halo shield knock with body shots versus the ending headshot. I think that's the core of Halo, and I don't think I want to change that. Because I'm going to give an example here.
like
Splitgate. Splitgate is inconsistent in information, as in like I don't know so it's like headshots multiply no matter at what point in the fight. You can 3-shot somebody in that game. And it's like you don't know how long or how much you can be peaking in a fight before you get destroyed in that game as easily as you can in Halo.
Right.
You have more info. I've been shot this times. I've hit him this many times. The odds of me winning this fight are low. I have to back off to this location. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot harder to have that balance in a game that runs like Halo, but has the headshot, but has this similar like headshot multiplier on every shot, like Splitgate does. I was noticing that it was just didn't feel consistent. And I didn't like it as much as Halo.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Just kind of having a complete understanding of how much more damage you can take when you're out in the open, right? And if it's different between head and body shot, you can get melted in a couple seconds, maybe if it's all headshots. So
you just know exactly what to expect on Halo, right? You know what I mean?
Right. Good point. Right. So clearly, I think, and pros are saying, with the aim assist being strong, it seems like it would be possible for it to be tuned down a little bit, and that might be okay. So we're thinking, okay, what are the potential responses to this? How do we fix this? So from 343's perspective, this is kind of like the developer standpoint that we got to consider as well. Is just you could have the way that they built it is it's the same aim assist settings that had always existed since Halo PC, like Halo 1 and Halo 2. So I guess they just kind of they just brought over what was already there. So kind of understandable in that regard. If they change the aim assist, would it screw up everybody else who's not a pro, though?
Exactly.
Right. So the pros might be like, okay, yeah, sure, we could deal with a little less aim assist, but all those casual players who are playing, how they are now, you switch it and then they're getting destroyed. And they're not. I mean,
I feel like everyone would take a notch down in skill gap no matter what, right? Even if a pro player is so fucking good at controller, if you bring down his skill level, ultimately, in my opinion, will come down no matter what, no matter if it's a small percentage or not. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's just if something like that did happen, the ranks would all just they would all just kind of subside. They would all everybody would settle into a different rank or a different skill level. They'd still be playing against themselves that are at the same skill level. You know what I mean?
Right. Things would find a way to balance out, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like when Counter-Strike was doing a lot of changes with their ranks, and people were complaining like, "Oh man, I'm losing rank. I don't know what's going on." Well, I mean, we're just we're in a new meta, and everything's settling. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was also thinking alternatively, you'd have like a specific playlist, a pro playlist that's got modified settings like aim assist settings. I don't know how challenging that is to set up, but something where they test it and it doesn't bother anybody else. They can play their own competitive balanced version.
Yeah, I don't want to come off like I'm complaining about it. You know what I mean? Like I'm fully like willing to accept exactly. It is what it is. I understand it's a 10-year-old game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think when I put myself in your shoes and see it from your perspective, you're playing all these different games. You want to be super competitive and be able to play at a high level in those games. If you can't take on the 1v1, like that's arguably speaking, that is the most important battle in the game. Like if you can't handle that, that's just I would imagine it would be frustrating.
That's what I think. People hit me with responses like it's not a solo game, it's a team game. It's all about team shotting and stuff.
Right.
But there's so many situations where Hysteria will be left alive by himself with one guy, one shot, and another guy coming at him with full shields and flag down. And it's up to him to clutch up to be able to get a pull long haul on pit or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
you have to be able to win those fights, and if you want to get some clutch situations. And there's so many of those clutch situations in Halo, especially at high level play. You know what I mean? Because it's all about the trades. It's all one guy gets traded here, another guy gets traded here. Maybe you get him in a spawn trap, but ultimately someone's gonna have to clutch up some fucking shots. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, it's we were talking about it right before the show, and you were saying like Giggs was talking about it too. It just feels like every single shot on mouse and keyboard is a very involved process. You got to kind of work for each one of those 5 DMR shots. You can destroy people with 5 shots, but there's a lot. It's very involved, right? As opposed to like when you get really good with controller, the first couple shots, you don't have to be as kind of tuned in as you do with the last couple. So it almost kind of gives you that first edge, I find.
Yeah. When I watch controller players play, it feels like they just almost can just brush a kill off. Like, bam, there's a 5 tap.
It's not as big of a deal. Yeah, it's like it's something that's almost expected, right? Yeah. And when you think of what's entertaining on stream, like those types of 5-shot clutches are so important. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So so the aim assist. There's also pros saying maybe return to 85% bloom. I don't know what you think of that. Kratos has a tweet about this, saying the game was designed for bloom. I know you were saying that it's just the sheer speed that players are shooting that's the issue.
So that was one of my complaints as well. Is it just feels like they can shoot you faster. Like I know that it's not like I can click my mouse just as quick, but it's like their crosshair is more. It just feels like it traces that much easier that they're able to accurately hit quicker shots. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Well, I feel like PC players maybe have to slow it down like minuscule of seconds, but that's everything. You know what I mean? Like that's I mean that's a possibility. Like I said though, like that's a big change. You know what I mean? And people will be pissed about that.
You might fix one problem with another problem, basically, with the randomness that comes from increasing.
You increase RNG without a doubt.
Exactly. Yeah. So you don't want that either. But I definitely think rate of fire is an important thing to consider. These are all things that 343, they'll work on them and hopefully fix them by the time Infinite comes out. That's the important thing, of course. Whether it's slowing aim assist or having a slower rate of fire, which makes me think maybe there are other games in MCC that'll be a lot better for this. Like you think of H2, H3, you're shooting a BR. You got a 4-shot kill. It's a burst rifle. The shots work differently. You got Halo 3 as projectile aim.
I would say it's probably going to be, I don't know. I can't really like picture it, but just thinking about it, it feels like there definitely would be more time in between shots than a DMR and a battle rifle, right? Like
definitely.
So there's definitely more time to hit some whippity whips in between. So maybe it would favor mouse and keyboard a little bit more. You know what I mean? And I've been told by some people that it has significant less aim assist than
Halo 3.
Another weird thing that Reach does that people don't really talk about is when you get hit, your reticle gets closer to them. Your reticle literally, you know what I mean? And they took that away from mouse and keyboard to make it feel smoother, because you can't have that in something that's supposed to, like, it's designed to be free, right? But it's the same on controller, where when you get hit, your reticle like slowly like
there's like a reflex kind of reaction to it.
Yeah, I wonder if that's something. If you just took that away from controller, what would happen? Like how important is that aspect to controller play? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Has that thing on Halo 2 and 3? I don't know.
I don't know. I actually don't. Like I can't imagine. I'm trying to think of a situation where I get shot and the aimer goes on. Usually there is still like a.
You might not notice it, but it's there. If you look at the video, there's a video that showcases it. That so every time the guy shoots him, his reticle, the guy who's getting shot, will get closer to the head or to the center body mass. And it's like, so it's essentially maybe some very small amounts, but you are essentially being punished for hitting shots on somebody else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So even just like little tweaks like that might do it. So what do you think then of something like H2? Actually, before we get there, sorry, what I was going to say was movement was another issue as well, right? So there's a lot of people who are switching over to mouse and keyboard, and they find that movement's the issue, like the crouching you said. Maybe if it's just like making the crouch easier or making the movement feel a little smoother, because it feels like when you move, especially on mouse and keyboard, it feels like you kind of throw your Spartan's weight around. It's not as snappy.
Maybe it's a little bit more ice skating.
Yeah, it's kind of
I'm not totally sure. I actually didn't plug in a controller to feel the strafe difference, to be honest. But yeah, it does feel ice skatey, but to me that was just Halo. You know
kind of how Halo is.
That's just Halo feels. When it comes to the crouch though, you have to stop all inputs, hit crouch, and then continue inputs. It's very much not. It's like in order to throw in a crouch on this guy, I have to stand still, let him shoot me, then crouch to try to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just not fluid. I don't know how that feels on mouse and or on a controller though. I don't know if
It's
it feels
still
fluid
weird.
with them either. Yeah.
It is still definitely a little bit weird. It's something it's just an old mechanic that I think needs to change. And I know 343 is looking into it, but it's something that you won't have to experience in future Halo games. So, for example, H2A, which is a good example, you said might be kind of like a sleeper hit. It looks beautiful. The crouch thing is not an issue in that. You've got spring jumps in that. You've got great graphics. Here's the campy montage. You reacted to this last year, actually.
Oh, did I? Oh man,
this looks
nuts.
This looks pretty sexy. What do you think of H2A?
I love the way it looks, man. It's a sexy looking Halo, and honestly, what's Halo been missing? It's been missing graphics.
I think so.
And absolutely. I mean, Halo 5 looks good. Don't get me wrong, but I mean that wasn't on PC. We need a Halo on PC that looks pretty too. You know what I'm saying? It can't just be about the gameplay, unfortunately, in 2020. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it looks great. I think this. If there is a sleeper in Halo before Infinite, it's this one. I don't think it's 3. I don't think it's normal 2. Yeah, so yeah, that's my opinion for sure.
Yeah, this looks
look at that. Look at that. Even that Spartan looks sick.
I think was that an elite?
I think that looking map. Yeah, it was an elite.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I said Spartan. I meant elite. I apologize. But
you're good.
yeah, me and my friend used to, whenever we'd headshot elites, we used to call it the ponytail shot. I don't know. It always looked like he had a ponytail on the back of his head. Pony that fool. But yeah.
Dinos. Dinosaurs. Little space dinos.
Some dino shots on them. But yeah, I think H2A is the other sleeper potential. And, you know, I don't think everybody's going to agree with that, but I think when it comes to the general public and blowing up Halo, that's the one, you know what I mean, before Infinite.
That or H3, I think definitely, just because of H3's kind of nostalgia factor.
I just don't think it's going to do it, though. As much as I love H3, I just don't think it not being graphically fit is going to matter.
Right.
H3's been played on Twitch, you know, on controller. It's not going to change the viewership on Twitch, right? For me to be playing it on some keyboard, it will change it a little bit because more people will be involved without a doubt, right? It's going to involve more people on mouse and keyboard, which will draw them more to the game on Twitch and stuff like that. But I don't think it's going to be a sleeper. I don't think it's going to blow Halo back up. I think you need the graphics for that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I think you're right. It has to look pretty. It has to, you know, capture your attention. It can't just be, you know, kind of a 1080p version of an old game or 4K version of an old game.
If Halo came out tomorrow, they were like, "Hey, we're fucking remaking Halo 3, and it's gonna look like H2A."
That would be dope, dude.
Shit. I mean,
people lose their shit. Yeah, I can't even imagine the reaction to that, but it would be amazing. So I agree. I think that's kind of the one to look forward to. But that means that you would probably come back and try them. You think you're going to try H1 at all, or is it just kind of H2A that you're thinking? Or
I think H1 could be a lot of fun with custom games and viewers. When I played H1, I played competitive H1 on PC, which was light years. We took the game completely different apparently because we were playing.
It's a different version.
I think it was either 5v5 or 6v6. I don't remember. And then warthogs were involved, flag captures involved, very large maps. So you're holding like long angles with snipes and stuff. Dude, it was completely different fucking take on Halo and the competitive side of it. And it was actually a lot of fun. So yeah, I would probably play it for stuff like that and probably the single player game, maybe speedrunning it or something. But I don't think I'm really going to take it super seriously until H2A potentially or Halo Infinite.
Right. So we got a couple waves, you know, in before Infinite comes in, but I think Infinite's the big boy, the one we're all looking forward to. So let's talk about it a little bit. You said on your stream, Halo Infinite could save the series. What kind of features and gameplay elements do you think need to be present for that to happen? We'll put together our Infinite wish list, and feel free to start with whatever you like. I have a huge list of potential things we can discuss, but I'll see what you say first.
You know what's so funny about this is I have a different opinion on this than pretty much every other pro in existence. So every pro is not going to like me, but I really didn't mind the little boost jetpack in H5, and I thought it created a lot of outplays. I talked to Hysteria about it. Hysteria thinks it just gets people out of punishing positions. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I don't necessarily disagree with that. I don't think you need to be punished for every single tiny little mistake that you make. And I do think that it does create some outplayability. So I honestly do want to see something that's not just no sprint, no jetpack or any sort of thing, and it's only walking the same speed just like old school Halos. I don't think that's going to stick. I don't think people are going to like that as the new public that would be getting the game, I guess. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I agree.
So
with
some
you.
type of movement change.
Something. It has to have something, I think.
Yeah.
It also, it feels weird when you're playing Reach mouse and keyboard and you're playing hardcore and there's nothing to do with the shift button. I guess if you have like a jetpack, but there's moments where you feel like, I should be pressing the shift button for something.
Exactly.
And there's nothing there.
It's just weird.
Yeah. As far as your thoughts on thrust, I think the community's initial reaction to all the abilities and the advanced movement, I think was very, they didn't like it. There was it was very, mixed on different sides. I think now, if you go back and you ask a pro what they thought of the thrust in Halo 5, a lot of them would agree that it's actually a pretty cool mechanic. There's a lot of skill that goes into using the thrust, especially towards the end.
They fixed sprint in that game too. I'm so sorry to cut you off. I should.
No, you're good. You're good. Fix there.
I mean, they made it so that if you're sprinting, it's a double-edged sword, right? You can't just sprint yourself out of a situation, because if you do sprint, your shields aren't going to be recharging, which makes you out of a fight even longer. So I think they did a good job with sprint in H5 too, because it wasn't like overly used. You know what I'm saying? So go on to what was you saying? Sorry.
No, you're right. They added something called a cripple effect to the sprint as well. So if you activate sprint and you're in that initial activation period when if you get shot during that point, you haven't hit max sprint speed, then you get crippled and you don't sprint. You kind of just limp at normal speed. So you have to be in full speed for you to take shots and sprint without being crippled, which
that is very interesting.
You could even nerf it farther. You could say, doesn't matter if you're at full speed, you still get crippled. So at any point, if you get shot in sprint, you're crippled. Though,
and I'm by no means saying to add sprint,
No, I know exactly.
I'm just saying that we just need something that's not super old school Halo, and that you know what I mean.
And I think if we had to pick, I would say a thrust over the sprint mechanic. I feel like sprint is that one mechanic where Halo's identity kind of revolves around not having it and being kind of different in that way. So it'd be interesting if 343 could kind of challenge themselves to revolutionize gameplay without just taking a sprint mechanic and throwing that in once again.
Also, when they did the little what is that, the
stabilize
little grab ledges, grab
a
ledge.
What do you think about that one?
Wait, what? The clamber. What is that?
So when you grab ledges, it's called a clamber.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Right. All right, you're good.
Yeah, when you grab ledges and you hype up them or you hop up them, that's a really good update, I think, for Halo that I think shouldn't change. I think they should continue forward with personally.
That one is a little bit more polar. There's people who love it and absolutely hate it. They think it
really
is the thing about.
Let me just say the difference here, okay? When you watch an old Halo Pro versus when you watch a new Halo Pro, the Halo 5 pros have extremely impressive movement.
They do.
And you just don't really get to, I guess, it's not as showcased in old Halos. You know what I'm saying? How important it was. And the Halo 5 movement, when you watch these pros play, it's fluid. It looks sick. You can tell they're insane just by watching what they're doing before they even start shooting. You know what I'm saying? And that to me is impressive because it's the same in Counter-Strike. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Have you ever watched Shotzi or Frosty move in Halo 5?
Frosty, known as one of the the greatest movers in the game, mechanic skilled Halo players in existence. Yeah, he's so. It's just a pleasure to watch that guy play Halo. It really is.
It's kind of like I could go full nerd with you, but they once they got the spring jumping going and you combine do you know what a spring jump is?
No, I don't. What is it?
So a spring jump is a higher altitude jump that's performed by very precisely timing your jump and your crouch mechanic. Basically, you could do it in Reach. You jump and you land on the floor in crouch, and then you have to release crouch followed by jump within 1
so it's like a legit spring. Interesting.
Yeah, and you get a higher altitude jump. So you're kind of using the push off of your stand-up animation to get a slightly higher jump. In Reach, it's not that important, but in Halo 5, when you have a clamber and you have a thrust, you can spring, thrust, combine it together for a high altitude jump, and then clamber a higher ledge and do all this nutty stuff.
That's crazy,
cool.
But that speaks a lot, right? And you know what? You know what also speaks a lot is when have you ever seen a movement Halo map be created, right? Halo 5 that started, right? Climbing maps. McWin was always telling me about him and Pistola would sit up all fucking night doing climbing maps, making their movement nutty, figuring out all these different ways to move their dude around. And that's crazy. That's future stuff. That's that's where you should be going with Halo, not super old school, just walking around, nothing else.
Sure. I'm going to do the counter argument as well, though.
Do it.
Yeah, so Classic Halo does have jump maps for sure, and crazy movement and skill.
Does it really?
Yes, definitely has jump maps. And Halo 3, and that's the thing with the skillful movement in classic Halos, is it's not as obvious as it is as like the advanced mobility, and it's not quite as game changing. Like in Halo 3, there's a very, very important skill jumps, but you don't see them quite as often. Only in very high intensity moments where you'll get like the gold 1 to gold 2 or S1 to S2 Guardian or something. A lot of the fancy movement is just for tricks, just for show, like a trick jumping video, but you would never perform it in a competitive game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it involves
I'm not saying,
using.
I agree with you though. The movement is absolutely, obviously key in every single competitive game, especially shooters. But I think it's just not showcased as much. It's not as noticeable, right? Even the jump from like on pit, when they do the flag jump across that fucking big pit from plat to green, like that's incredibly difficult. You know what I mean? On controller, at least I couldn't do it. And like just movement like that. But yeah, I think it's just showcased more in a game like H5. Like it just looks insane.
Yeah. I think it's just wild movement plays get punished harder in classic Halo than they do in Halo 5. And I think the reason why people don't like clamber at first glance is because in classic Halo games, if you miss that jump, you die. Or if you miss that jump, it's a huge punishment. So you're forced to always be precise as opposed to pressing a button that automatically brings you up onto the ledge and you're good to go. You know what I mean?
I guess that can make, I guess it can dumb down movement a little bit too, huh? But I mean, dude, there were some jumps in Halo 5 that were so hard though,
they're
bro.
Crazy. Yeah, they're
like,
crazy.
That involved the vault. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
it's weird because what it ends up doing is jumps that were really, really difficult on Halo 3 are now easy in Halo 5, but jumps that are hard in Halo 5 are jumps that weren't imaginable in Halo 3. Like you would never even consider doing them because you need a clamber to perform them. So it created a new layer. It's honestly hard to say where it should go. I'd say, people are kind of split on
I think
the clamber
okay
one.
either way.
Okay.
I think it'd be okay either way. I think it's important for the public. Like I'm not talking competitive. I'm talking like the health of Halo. I think would benefit more from new school stuff. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So yeah, we'll see how it all pans out though. I'm interested to see what kind of decisions they make. They're going to be under the gun for sure.
What do you think about things like starting weapons, game modes?
Oh man, starting weapons always a battle rifle. Also game modes. I don't know, man. I would just really love to see a Halo launch with a shit ton of game modes. Like, remember when old Halos used to launch? They'd only give you like 2 game types, right? And then they'd slowly put in cool stuff like Nerf ball or Griff ball and just like fun stuff. And I would just like to see. I just want to see everything like old school Halo stuff. Game types. 2v2s with no radar, 1v1s with no radar. Obviously, 4v4 HCS game types with no radar. Obviously, the competitive game type. SWAT, ball. I want to see ball 100%. I missed that on Reach. It sucks. Or at least in the competitive circuit on the playlist. I don't know. I thought ball was cool because the setups that you would put around it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, ball was sick.
Yeah.
It definitely in H3 Guardian Ball has had some of the most hype moments ever in Halo 3 were Guardian Ball, like crazy stuff. So yeah, I agree with you on that. It's got to have all the modes really, like kind of all the big modes that you come to expect. Your BTB, your Griff Ball, your competitive modes, your social, kind of like the Halo 3 package.
That can't be super hard to make, right? They're just game types. You know what game types have been successful. You know what game types people want. Right. Just throw them in there, make them up. Let's go. Don't just launch it with 3 game types. I will cry.
That's the issue that Halo 5 had, right? So it was like you got a couple arena, you got your war zone, which took up so much of their resources just to get the war zone out, and then the other stuff kind of got the shaft, right? So it's a tough balance. They got to make sure they have everything the community wants, and then I know they're going to want to do something new, right? You got the constant stress of battle royale being insanely popular. Do you think they might try to dig into that at all, or do you think battle royale?
Man, I mean, if they are, there's been no leak whatsoever. Nobody's talked to me about anything. No one said a single thing. If there was a battle royale in mind, would I want to see one? To be honest, no. Realistically, I would rather not. I'd like to see. I mean, maybe they could dibble dabble in the fucking PvE PvP world or something like that. But I don't know. Halo's Halo to me, and if it stayed pretty much the core Halo with just like new style, I'm good with it. I don't need a battle royale. What do you think about a battle royale? Would you like that?
I think it has to be secondary, right? Like so everything else needs to be good. Like all the core modes, they can't, like not use resources on those modes to put on battle royale and then screw up something in the core modes, right? So if that's fine, then I think battle royale with Halo's lore and armor customization, you got the ODSTs and the elites. I think it could work in battle royale really well. Like it would look really cool. You get people coming in on drop ships to start the game, and you get really crazy weapons. They could make a way to have it Yeah.
I just think they want to focus on not splitting their community as much as possible, without a doubt, though, because they don't know how strong it's going to be at the start, right?
Yeah.
And a battle royale is not just a game type. It sucks 100 people into a game, right, or 50 people into a game. Like it's a big splitter of community. You know what I mean? It's like Sea of Thieves comes out with. Sea of Thieves made a similar mistake, in my opinion, or what I would call a mistake, is they came out with arena mode for. It's like a PvP version of their adventure mode, and I think it's awful. I think it splits their community. I think it's not a good thing for their game at all. You know what I mean? And I think that is a possibility of battle royale doing that to Halo. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
I think that's a good point. Yeah, like I think you take your Fortnite community or something, they're used to playing battle royales. If they see that Halo has a battle royale mode, they probably won't even bother to worry about all the other stuff that you want to be playing in Halo. They might just go skip to the battle royale because they're like, oh well, that's what I played in Fortnite. So you're right.
Yeah. So it might just, I'm not really sure where that would go or how it would be taken, but I know that there's a definite possibility of it hurting Halo as well. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. You know what I think then would be a good sweet spot is I don't think they should just copy paste the battle royale. I think they should find a way to make a new mode that takes influences from other things. So I think what they would want to do is probably like a war of some sort. Like that's kind of what Warzone was beginning to kind of hint at. Is I feel like they want something that's like a big scale mode where all the vehicles come into play and you get everything.
Yeah, that would become a choice of like how competitive do you want it to be versus how fun do you want it to be? Do you want it to be community driven? Do you want people to compete in it? You know, there's different questions that need to be asked in a battle royale, right? Because if you do go that route where there's banshees flying through the sky and someone's got a mother effing tank and you know what I mean, then the competitiveness is out the window, right? So it's like it just depends
it's always
where
gonna be
the balance is going to be. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So I think kind of touched on a lot of good points here. The only other thing is something like a Forge mode. Like Forge has always been so important. So I think like if you have, kind of a game that's going to last for a long time, I feel like this is their big win. If they can make Forge really accessible, really easy, and they can just build anything. You could just play anything really quickly. You know what I mean?
It's essentially just like unlocking modding for other games, right? It's like it's a huge thing to let people build and create, and I mean that's another way that we're going to get old school Halo maps too. You know what I mean?
yeah, exactly.
Someone remake Halo, hang them high for me. You know?
Yeah, of course. Now I know we're almost at an hour, dude. I'm taking a lot of your time. I don't want to.
I do think.
Don't want to keep you. We do have questions that we asked from Twitter. I'm going to skip over to some of these Twitter questions just to make sure we get these. Before we close, we've got at Hit My Mark says, is there anything Halo is lacking that other FPS games do right?
Oh, goodness gracious. I'm not even going to touch on aim assist there because nobody does that right now, right? What does Halo lack that other games have? I mean, graphics.
Yeah.
I mean, besides Halo 5. I'm talking for PC on that one, but That's a really tough question. That's a tall question.
I'm with you on graphics. I'm wondering if something in the line of esports and spectator stuff and
I mean, one thing's for sure, it's been missing FPS. That's for damn sure. So it needs more frames per second. Halo Reach is like the first one that's like been nice on frames, you know?
Yeah, it has to run at high frames. Definitely, dude. That's honestly a game changer. The game feels completely different.
Absolutely. Imagine running Halo Infinite on 240 hertz, 240 FPS. My God.
It's going to be a different game. Nice.
Let's go back to that question. That's a tough one. I didn't think about it.
No worries. Hilla Moot says, most important thing Halo Infinite should have that is not competitive related. This is kind of similar to the last one.
Not competitive related, though. That changes a lot. I mean, they just need a new game type, I think. They just need a new fun game type. Something that rivals Big Team Battle. You know what I mean? Big Team Battle's great. It's so much fun. But if they could do other big game types that are similar, maybe just one more so you don't split too much. But that's cool. Yeah, I would like to see more fun stuff like that.
Cool.
Yeah. Let's get a Big Team Battle with hammers only. You know what I mean? Everybody just running each other with hammers.
Big Team Griff Ball. 24 versus 24.
And the guy with the ball's got in a warthog. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Everyone's on the field trying to stop this warthog with their hammers.
I'm pretty sure if you're in the side seat, you can still swing that thing too. So you get some crazy,
you get some
like drive-by hammer. Yeah, it's a polo, Halo style polo. Yeah. You got.
I'm down for more fun community type stuff, but that could just be Forge stuff. You know what I mean? So.
Do you think they ever got to inject that stuff into events? Like, you think that would really help events succeed? As you get community type stuff? That was the big thing. And we had something called the Big Team Battle Bonanza last year, and people loved it. We got creators and pro players play each other in BTB. It
cool
was
stuff.
wild. Yeah.
Pretty cool stuff, man. Yeah, I'm all down for like the extra fun type of things in Halo. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Odiwa says, what sort of events do you think? Actually, so this is what we kind of just said. What sort of events do you think would get most viewers on streams, get people excited about the game? Kind of what we just talked about. Legion says, from a spectator's perspective, what does Summit think is missing to retain long-term viewership?
Oh man, it's just I feel like we're just a rough patch for arena games. It's arena games used to be really big, right? Quake, very big deal. Halo, very big deal. I think we're just in a dry spot for arena games, and the new kids that are getting into games they're being shown this big battle royale game. And I do think there'll be a time where it comes back up. I just don't know when that time's going to be or what it's going to take. Honestly, man, it's tough. It's the thing that people like right now is what I'm noticing on Twitch is the feel of you don't know what's going to happen. Anything could go down when you play an arena game.
Kind of like Tarkov, right?
You kind of already understand what the gist is, what you're going to get. You know what I mean? When you play an arena game, you understand that this guy's going to go out there, shoot some motherfuckers, die, respawn, and do it all over again 100 times. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think that is just not sitting well with the new generation of gamers, but I think it will eventually.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. The way that games kind of work today, like when you think of something like Tarkov, you drop in the map, and you got to figure your shit out. You don't know where people are gonna be or what loot you're gonna have, whatever. As opposed to Halo, where it's very strict. It's you get a specific map. You got to know every inch and nook and cranny of that map and be in the right spots and the weapons, and very different. Yeah. But I think it could make a comeback, definitely.
Yeah, there's like you're seeing survival games making a little bit more of a comeback than it did once. Like DayZ's a little bit more popping than it once was. EFT's getting a huge kickback right now, and it's like finally, like maybe people are starting to step away from battle royales a little bit,
Right. It's kind of good time for a new wave to come in. That's what I think. Squatting Bear says, do you have any interest in playing Halo CE or H2 competitively when they're ported to PC? Is there any MCC game you think you might touch on competitively?
H2A. And if, like I said, maybe it's just nostalgia of the H1 competitive that nobody's ever seen that I think could be so much fun to watch. I would like to almost like if Halo 1 came out and I was really enjoying it and I think they did a good job, I would very much consider almost making my own like just fun little like league to.
Oh, please. That'd be so sick.
It's just, it would be different Halo, right? It would be more along the lines of like 6v6 giant Halo with warthogs and capturing the flags. And, it's something that nobody's really seen that, I got to participate in when I was young. So I definitely have some interest in one. I also really am a huge fan of speedrunning. And so Halo is one of those games I've always really wanted to speedrun, but didn't want to, bite the bullet and do the controller thing. You know what I'm saying? So it's always possible playing some single players on that too. So yeah, H1, H2A, or I would say more H2A. H1 might be like I might turn it into like a fun, community thing. But who knows?
Well, if you need any casters for your fun community H1 tournaments, you know to ask. I'd love to.
Yep.
Awesome. So then you also have Halo Infinite, of course. What if that's good? What if they fix crossplay? There's no aim assist issues. It comes out, you love it. Would you try to go pro? Is there a possibility there? Curb asked that.
Going pro is always a hard question to answer when your streaming is your main priority. You know what I mean? So I can with confidence say that I would never go pro if it affected my streaming career in the slightest.
Okay.
I can put more hours in myself and beat myself up more to go pro, and do something like that. But from my experience, Halo might be different. From my experience, once you get to pro level, streaming is a problem. People don't want to showcase their strats.
Right.
They don't want to get stream sniped in their games. So yeah, it becomes a problem once you get to a certain level, and that was the ceiling I hit in Counter-Strike. So I don't know if that ceiling exists in Halo, and I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. The one good thing about your kind of journey to pro is it's fun to watch, I think, for your viewers when you say, I want to go pro, and then you're going through the trials and tribulations. It's kind of like that. And they said it in the score video. It's like a reality show where Summit, our main character, is trying to make it as a pro, and you're kind of following, the adventure.
I definitely think it could be fun for a stream, and I think I'm capable of playing at high level in any shooting game given the time frame. That if I was given a time frame for it, you know what I mean. So,
I like it.
I mean, I love Halo. It's a new Halo. It'll have beautiful graphics, hopefully. And we'll see where it's at. I always have competitive in the back of my head, though,
Cool. Sounds good. Last question I have from Twitter, Astro_physics says, what would you think of Halo, a Halo game with a deeper story, like an open world, quests and side missions and some linear elements to really get immersed into the universe, but keeping a competitive multiplayer?
I feel like you'd be scratching the surface of Destiny a little bit too much.
Yeah, maybe. Just getting into too many. They're putting their foot into too many different genres.
Okay,
right?
so let me. I'm not a big fan of open world on some games. Like when Metal Gear Solid came out with number 5 and it was open world, I was sad. So I think if Halo took that route, I think it would be too closely related to Destiny and lacking the content to make it justifiable. So I think Halo should not go that route personally.
Okay. Well, thank you, Summit. That's all of the Twitter questions. Just to kind of close it out, let's do a little roundup. Halo Infinite, do you think it has a chance to succeed in 2020? And if so, what would it take? A quick kind of like, what are the top 3 things that it would need to have, let's say? What's it going to be from Summit?
I mean, it would have to have support, i.e. have to have the support of Halo, of Microsoft, of UGC, of HCS, whatever, you know what I mean? Everybody's got to be kind of on board with doing that kind of stuff, which I'm sure they will, because you guys have, everybody's pretty much supported Halo throughout the years. So yeah, if it has that support, it's got the nice, beautiful graphics and the FPS to go along with it. Oh man, replayability. It's got to have replayability. It's got to have a good ranking system that is not so cut and dry. It's got to be a little bit more, I don't know how to explain it. Hard to climb, but rewarding at the same time as you're climbing. I would like, what I would really like to see that nobody fucking does?
What?
I want to see a solo duo queue, and I want to see a 4-man queue and completely different ranks for the both. That's what I want to see. League of Legends has done it forever, and nobody has followed suit, and it annoys me. I think it's the best. I think solo and duo queue having their own section to be able to play is important, and I think having the team be able to do the same is also important, and meshing those together sucks. So I hope Infinite, I hope they do that.
I think they're definitely going to do that. They have
graphics, good old, good ranking system, and good support from not only the community but developers and stuff.
The devs. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Summit, for all the Halo content. For all your answers to these questions. I think that was the biggest thing I wanted to get across, is that you are a Halo fan, and happy to have you as part of the community, man. And looking forward to just seeing more Halo gameplay and content from you. We got more games coming up with MCC. We got Halo Infinite on the horizon. Hopefully, hopefully it's the big one.
Should be fun.
Should be fun. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, man. Nice to meet you.
Hey, man. Pleasure. Till next time.
Yeah.
All right, man.
All right, guys. Once again, thank you so much to Summit for joining us on today's interview. That's going to cover everything for HCS Weekly. If you guys like this show and you want to see more, we don't just stream on Twitch. You can also check us out on YouTube. YouTube.com/UGC events is where you can go for all of our YouTube videos. This full VOD will be uploaded to YouTube. It'll also be on Spotify, so you can listen to it on the go when you're working out at the gym, whatever you're doing. So a lot of different places to keep up with HCS Weekly. Thank you guys once again for joining us in today's episode. Hopefully we'll see you again next week, Tuesday, 5 p.m. CT, with more HCS Weekly.